Hello from the other side. I don't know why that song's on my mind, but it is. Hello. Um, so some stuff is going on. I know this story is not particularly new. This one right here, I will not be supporting MSNBC. Thank you very much. So some stuff's happened, and I just thought I would talk about it. You probably saw this story. Biden's White House firing staffers for marijuana use. Oh, even MSNBC says that's a mistake. They're not going to do anything substantive to really push him on that issue. I would be surprised if they did over there. But even if they do, I don't think much is going to come of it, and whatever minimal walking back that the administration may possibly do will be met with applause. So the story is basically the Biden administration, dozens of young White House staffers have been suspended, asked to resign, or placed in a remote work program due to past marijuana use. That's even though some staffers were informally told by transition higher-ups ahead of formally joining the administration that they would likely overlook some past marijuana use, only to be asked later to resign. Okay, so not only were they fired for a stupid reason like just having smoked weed, which, like, come on, almost every like grown adult person has smoked weed in their life. So let's not have that prevent people from pursuing their life's work and passion, even if they're people I don't like and disagree with. Much less the fact that we lock people up for it. Anyway, so not only is that a dumb reason to let them go or ask them to resign, but they were told they were probably not going to do that to them. So they just lied about it. And for seemingly no reason. I mean, I don't understand what possible concern could be assuaged by firing or asking for the resignation of people who've smoked weed. Like, that's just crazy to me. But something that's also kind of funny is Biden's was like a pretty bad candidate for president, right? Like a really bad one even. And that's because of his history in politics is bad. He was vocal, political, and public friends with Strom Thurmond, who was a segregationist, to the point that he was asked to speak at Strom's funeral. He supported the crime bill vocally, among other things. He, was not. He wasn't early to the busing issue, the issue of busing black students to schools that were formerly, or at that time, contemporarily white. So kind of say racy on race issues, and but people gave him a lot of credit because he was Barack Obama's vice president, right? What the fuck am I looking at here? Why is that up? Oh, that's why. Because Obama not only admitted to smoking weed, but talked about doing cocaine, which everybody acknowledges is less common, we'll say, at a minimum, than marijuana use. And this was the guy who was his boss and is like the biggest boon to his chances of winning the presidential election. This guy. A guy who wrote a book admitting it was about his life, but he talked about doing cocaine, and it was known that he had smoked weed during his presidential election. So that's kind of weird, right? And then also his vice president, oh, this is kind of a funny title that didn't age super well, wants to legalize weed and expunge felonies, but will be fine with firing a bunch of people for having smoked weed ever. So I just thought didn't age super awesome. But she also went on the Breakfast Club and talked about smoking weed. Yes, I have smoked weed. Some that sounded like that. That's my Kamala impression. But yeah, so she talked about smoking weed and listening to Snoop Dogg or something, even though the album that she was talking about hadn't come out at the time that she was saying that she smoked weed. So Kamala also a liar, not a surprise. But so this is a weird move, right? I mean, marijuana legalization is extremely popular, so this isn't like it's something he's doing because he thinks it's gonna like win people over to his side. I think the excuse that they gave was something along the lines of like it's a national security issue, which is stupid, given the other things that I've mentioned. And Joe Biden is currently undergoing the early mid stages of dementia. So I would call that more of a national security issue, but he's the prez, so I don't think he'll fire himself. But then a story came up today that's worse. Biden pushes Colombia to restart glyphosate spraying program. Experts say this is a bad idea. That's what it says right there. So glyphosate, let's look that up. Hey, glyphosate. Glyphosate is an herbicide. It is applied to the leaves of plants to kill both broadleaf plants and grasses. The sodium salt form of glyphosate is used to regulate plant growth. Registered for U.S. use in the U.S. in 1974. Oh, neat. Glyphosate, let's see. Glyphosate health risks. You know what? Let's go scholar. Let's get all scholarly in this bitch. Concerns over use of glyphosate-based herbicides and risks associated with exposures. A consensus statement. That sounds pretty good, and that's from 5 years ago. I'll just accept cookies. Okay. Initial industry toxicity testing suggests that GBHs, glyphosate-based herbicides, pose relatively low risk to non-target species, including mammals. This is fairly common where a product will be introduced to market that initially shows no or low risk to the non-target population. That sort of later it is revealed that was a hasty conclusion, but we haven't gotten to that part of the abstract yet, so let's make sure. Animal and epidemiology studies published in the last decade, however, point to the need for a fresh look at glyphosate toxicity. Furthermore, the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer recently concluded that glyphosate is, quote, probably carcinogenic to humans. Neat. In response to changing GBH use patterns and advances in scientific understanding of their potential hazards, we have produced a statement of concern drawing on emerging science relevant to the safety of GBHs. So, long story short, this is a bad move. This is something that risks the health of the local population, and it's something that you would do, in theory, you would do it because, and probably the justification that he would give for this is that, this is something that the Colombian government does to curb the production of cocaine, which Colombia grows a lot of the cocoa plant that is used to make cocaine because of its sort of unique climate and regional soil nutritional profile. I don't know all the science behind it, but Colombia grows a lot of this crap that goes into cocaine, and so as a result, a lot of American cocaine comes from Colombia, and of course, cocaine is illegal in America. So you want to trace it back to the source, you deal with the problem at its source, then we won't have to deal with it here. Cool. That's what the logic that I anticipate them to express on this point. That's what it sounds like. The problem with that is that we've been doing this drug war since the 70s. And it's gotten worse, not better. And this all of this crap, all the weed stuff, the me saying that Biden was pretty much the terrible candidate for president because of his record. You remember the crime bill thing? Even the New York Times runs a story linking Joe Biden to the era of mass incarceration because of his support for the crime bill, suggesting that playing down his role in overhauling crime laws with segregationist senators in the 80s and 90s is at odds with his action and rhetoric back then, essentially saying Joe Biden was very authoritarian and pro-carceral state as a way of dealing with crime back then, and he tries to play it down now, but playing it down just doesn't jive with the way things are. This is the New York Times. This is not exactly some like lefty rag. This isn't Current Affairs magazine. It's not the Atlantic, or Jacobin. This is the New York fucking Times. This is a very mainstream publication. And even they have to run a story. I mean, this was before he was a front runner in the primary even. Talking about how Joe Biden was pretty punitive back in the day. And, this is really troubling stuff. This is not a president for the year 2021 when the vast majority of the country... Let's just look it up while I got your ear and your eye. Marijuana legalization polling. Support for 2020. Normal's not exactly, content neutral, but this is their whole thing. I don't want to donate. I want to see the polls. National polls. Emerson College poll from February 2021. Okay. Biden's presidential approval. Marijuana legalization. 61% favorability in the country. 61%. I mean, that there are so few issues where it's so clear. I mean, if a president wins 61% to 39%, that's a historic blowout, practically. I mean, that there just aren't issues that are that clear and decisive. And, I mean, there are other issues on this poll that I care about too, but that's not what we're talking about today. So all of this stuff, this is why people like me say that Joseph Robinette Biden is basically a Republican. Joe Biden is the most conservative you can be on most issues while remaining in the sphere of acceptable political discourse. He doesn't want to roll back the drug war. Even though he played a huge part in ramping up incarcerating people for the drug war, that has been shown not to work and actually harms, black communities and communities of color, sort of almost more than any other policy that is ongoing at a federal level. In fact, I would be surprised if there was another policy. I can't think of another one off the top of my head that is more harmful to communities of color in the United States than the drug war. And he's not interested in doing anything about it. In fact, he's going to be more punitive and push for more to globalize this drug war effort in a way that just endangers lives, doesn't fix anything, doesn't improve anything. The way to do it, Kyle Kulinski talked about this in his segment on this junk, and any sane, sensible person understands this point before I even say it. But the way that you eliminate the violence that comes along with drug legalization, illegal drug markets, is to legalize drugs. To make black markets into white markets. To regulate things. Fewer people will die from drug overdoses. It's a fact. It's a fact. It sounds counterintuitive until you think about it for a second. But if you know what you're getting, you're less likely to overdose. That's what mostly happens when people overdose, is that they don't know what they're putting in a needle that they're going to put in their body. Okay? I don't like the idea of people doing heroin either. Okay? I don't like that. But me not liking it doesn't do anything to fix the problem. This is not a problem where we should just say, this is a YP. This is an OP. This is an our problem. This is a UP, an us problem. Okay, as a country, the fact that so many people are dying from drug overdoses and the response that Joseph Biden, the Democratic presidential candidate and victor, unfortunately for us all, the fact that what he wants to do is nothing or make things worse, really, really troubling stuff. I mean, this is not nitpicking here. This is one of the in terms of domestic policy, this is maybe the biggest issue of our time. You want to talk about what's going on with the Black Lives Matter protests. I mean, a huge ramping up of the police state is because of Joe Biden, because of policies that are closely linked to the war on drugs. Get rid of the war on drugs, and all of that stuff deflates a little bit. I'm not saying it's a one-step solution to, race-based police brutality. Obviously not. But you eliminate that one aspect. I mean, you had it the other day. I'll pull it up. Cuomo on marijuana legalization. Okay, well, I'm not going to keep looking for it. I probably should pull it up before I started recording, but I didn't know I'd get into this territory. But, we have these ghouls that sort of openly acknowledge that the pretense of something smelling like marijuana is a common tactic amongst police officers to harass black people or poor people or kind of whoever they want to harass, because you can't prove that somebody didn't smell something that smelled like marijuana. So it's carte blanche to harass, sort of whomever you decide to harass. Just so happens to more frequently be black and poor people, but it could be anybody. This is an everybody issue. Okay? You got that one? Okay? This is an everybody problem. That Joe Biden's just not interested in doing anything about it. Among myriad other things that are sort of disgusting about Joe Biden, what he stands for, who he is. I don't even really know what else to say about this stuff. I mean, this is truly this is more disappointing than I thought Joe Biden would be at this point in his administration. It's great that he did the reconciliation bill. If he gets rid of the filibuster, that'll be good too. But this stuff, the not getting back into the Iran deal stuff, which is something he promised to do and has the authority to initiate talks on that, but instead of doing that, he's ramping up tensions with Iran via missile strikes that killed dozens of people. This is gross. This is terrible. This is fucked up stuff. So, I don't want to hear from any of you Biden stands telling me that, Trump was worse, or cry more because Bernie lost, or whatever. I don't care. This is your guy now. This is your homie. Pushes Colombia to restart a human carcinogen spraying program. Nice. This is your guy. Lock the SOBs up, he said about black kids. So I don't even know what more to say. This isn't really a fun video. I know that, but it's a video that I felt like I had to make. This is a really sort of watershed issue, I think. If you're a Biden person and you make apologies for this, then you're not really paying attention. You're at least certainly not on the left. I mean, you're sort of out of my realm of political influence, and I'm saddened that we have to share a party with you, and I'll do everything I can to make sure that that's no longer the case. Tell me your favorite aspect of the drug war and sort of spraying carcinogens on developing countries' populations who are just trying to do whatever shitty job they can for cents or dollars a day to survive, because they've been sort of ravaged by a history of colonial endeavors in their country. Tell me to recap. Tell me your favorite part about all of that stuff, and why you are happy that Biden's the president. You tell me yours, and I'll tell you mine. How's that sound? Leave a like, or don't do that. This has been Lion Dog Face Pony Soldier. Talk to you later.